Marion County has become a national focus tonight after the shooting of a black woman by her white neighbor last Friday. Many people today protested the lack of an arrest in the shooting of Ajike Owens. TV 20's Ethan Badowski tells us why protesters say the sheriff's explanation is not good enough.
If it was a black person doing this crime, they would have been arrested off the top.
Protesters in Ocala are feeling frustration. Ajike Owens was shot and killed by her neighbor through the neighbor's front door, and so far no arrest has been made.
I feel like Billy they should have arrested her and let the state attorney decide whether they're going to process the charges fully or not.
More than 75 people came to downtown Ocala to demand an arrest, marching all the way to the state attorney's office. Marion County Sheriff Billy Woods has said that he cannot make an arrest while the sheriff's department investigates whether this meets the criteria of Florida's Stand Your Ground law. However, among protesters, that explanation is not acceptable.
The child was hit with a pair of skates. Well, that's projecting a missile or something like that, or assault on a minor, child abuse, whatever. At least at the minor, she could have been charged with something to go into the system.
If he wants the community on his side, that he should move swiftly, whether he know it's danger ground or not. It's what the people want to see. And if you keep showing black people that white people can do whatever they want and not be arrested, then it's only going to make them act out worse because we feel like you're not doing anything.
2 more protests are already being planned for Friday night and Saturday afternoon.
We don't need to stand back and just watch. We need our voices to be heard. We need to get out here, protest, just get some action behind it.
There will be a vigil for Owens Thursday at Immerse Church in Ocala. In Ocala, Ethan Badowski, TV 20 News.